let's look at file permissions. So I'm in random Linux host. Here's some files. I just listed them. And if we look at the long description, it looks a little crazy. But basically, this over here is where file permissions are defined. And the way it works is you've got directories, right? This is a file. See, it doesn't have the directory flag. And then you've got three kind of entry pairs. So you've got, this is the owner of the file, this is the owning group, and this is everybody else. So they simplify it a little bit, and you might think, well, what about, if I want something else? Well, you can't. Well, you can, but it's a little more complicated. In Linux, it's basically the owner, the owning group, and everybody else. And they come in these three different pairs. You have read, write, execute. X is for execute. And so you can see the owner of this boot directory can read it, write it, execute it. The owner is root. The owning group, the root group, can read and execute, and everybody else can read and execute. So let's go and create a place to play around. So if I go to temp hello, there's nothing here, but I can create a file. My file. Look, there's a file. It's called my file. You can see it's owned by me. I'm root. And there is read write for me as the owner, read for my owning group, and read for everybody else. Well, let's make this a little more interesting by adding some users. So, my name's Cole. I'm going to add a user, Cole. And all of this shenanigans. Now I can become Cole, and I can look at the permissions, and I should be able to read that file. Sweet. But I can't write to it. See? Permission denied. But I can create my own file. Actually, I can't. Because if you look at the dot, means the directory I'm currently in, I don't have write access to this directory. So if I try to touch Cole's file, that doesn't work. I can't touch Cole's file. You could also make this like touch MC Hammer. Cannot touch MC Hammer. So yeah. But how would you change that? Well, that's where chmod comes in. So if I go back to root, I exited because I started as root, went to Cole, now I'm back to root. And I can chown changes the owner, chmod modifies the permissions. So I'm going to look at the permissions again, and now I'm going to chmod, and this is where things get a little funky. So I'm going to do 777. You shouldn't use 777. That's a bad idea. But I'm going to do it on this directory, and now when I look at it, look at that. Read, write, execute for everybody. Read, write, execute for me. Read, write, execute for my buddies in my group, and read, write, execute for everybody else. So now what that means is if I go back to Cole, now I can touch MC Hammer. And now MC Hammer is touchable. You can't touch this. Okay. So I wrote my little file, and you can see that the owner is different, right? Because it was created by Cole. It's also interesting that the default permissions of a file touched by root and the default permissions of a file touched by Cole are different. That is because of the umask. I forget the way to look up the umask. Umask. Boom. 0002. That is, I believe that's the reason why. So if I go back to root, umask 0022. Isn't that cool? Yeah, kind of clever. So, what else do we want to look at? You can also chown things. So, in order to chown, this is actually a really interesting thing. You have to be root. So if I sue Cole, and I say, hey, I want to make MC Hammer owned by root. So, chown root. MC Hammer. So that's the user and the group. MC Hammer. What? I can't change the owner? That's right, you cannot, but root can. So now MC Hammer is owned by root and the root group. And if I go back to Cole, MC Hammer is no longer touchable. But check this out. If I chown root Cole, the MC Hammer, see the Cole is the group there? And do you see how the group has a right bit? That means that Cole can touch MC Hammer. Isn't that sweet? And that's all because if you look at who I am, I'm Cole. If you look at the group ID, that is Cole. And if you look at the groups, again, I have Cole as a group. And so because this file has write execute for the Cole group, this is touchable by people in the Cole group, which is me. So there's lots of fun things you can do about this. I honestly think the best way to learn it and get comfortable with it is to run into problems and try to fix them. Good stuff. Happy New Year.